The Wheel of Time on Prime Video is honestly the biggest train wreck I think that studio's ever come out with. I mean, it makes Rings of Power look like it's a great, great piece of work. And we know exactly how bad Rings of Power is. Rings of Power is a bastardization of Tolkien. But if that's a bastardization of Tolkien, this doesn't even resemble anything that Robert Jordan actually wrote in his beautiful epic fantasy series. Now, I'm a huge fan of The Wheel of Time, the books, and I tuned in for a couple of episodes of this, and I'm just like, ugh, it's painful. It was so bad that the guy who played Matt actually ditched after the first season because he just couldn't deal with this anymore, and they had to replace him. It's very awkward when you have that kind of a situation, and they couldn't just remove his character because he's such an integral part of the series. But they are trying to downplay the new actor's character in season 3, like they're replacing him with Lan in a few of the storylines. This is a train wreck. It shows that they really don't care about the lore of Wheel of Time and the epic world building and the like, and that they're actually just going to just insert characters into everything. Now, we've seen that they ranted about this, said it's all about identity politics for them. This is the DEI Wheel of Time. It's not the real Wheel of Time. It's like the fake and gay version, like for real. and they talked about how the whole thing is just all about this, like they want it to be about queerness and lesbianism and the like. They totally missed the point. Now, Robert Jordan wrote a beautiful, beautiful series which has so much cool world building in it, and I loved it so much. I've read the books 3 times, and to see what they're doing here, where they're actually just removing Matt and replacing him with Lan as if they're just interchangeable characters for whatever reasons, is just obnoxious. I mean, it doesn't make sense. All their diversity casting, don't even get me started on that anyway. But here is what's going on with The Wheel of Time in Season 3. Buckle up, my friends, because this is a rough ride. Please hit the like and subscribe button as we cover the real fantasy news here. We tell it like it is. We are not shilling for these studios or these book publishers. We're here to tell the truth about just what's happened in culture over the last 20 years. It's been a complete disaster of DEI, of just studios running rampant and just being awful towards the fans of a lot of these properties. And I'd rather a Wheel of Time series not even get made than what we've got right now. But I am making my own fantasy books too, as well, my friends. This is The Demon's Eye. It's not a big epic fantasy where you're going to have 14 books and maybe I'll die before I finish it. This is a one and done. So you actually get a full book in this, because that's the way they used to do things. If you don't know, back before the whole series crazes, they used to sell books that you'd start it and it'd finish, and it's kind of nice. You'd have a whole character arc, and honestly, if you look at the Eye of the World, it kind of does that, and they kind of have to like adjust stuff and kind of retcon stuff to make it into a trilogy. And then they kind of have to adjust it and retcon stuff and to make it into an ongoing series, because it seemed like that was going to be the whole deal, and that he was going to fight the Dark One and all that, and it was going to be over. Now, this is a classic fantasy book. Strong male lead. He's a reluctant hero. He has to fight against evil sorcerer magics. This is a lot of fun, and it is everything that classic fantasy is supposed to be. So check it out. It's in the description below. Thank you so much, guys. You made this my bestseller for a launch I've ever had. It's just been cooking, and we had one of our best days ever yesterday, thanks to viewers like you. So it's available on print and Kindle, and it's in the description below. Please back it and support our channel, guys. It's only $4.99 for the ebook. Thanks for reading. And let's get into the fantasy news, my friends. All right. So, yes, this Christina Trujillo is a piece of work at Screen Rant. She always talks about, these cultural items as if and that's a good thing. They always love to say that on their articles. And that's a good thing. They didn't say it here because I don't think they can spin this really well, because Matt's story is taking a sharp U-turn from canon, as she says. So now he's been played by 2 different actors, and it's tough. He is the pivotal character other than Randall Thor. He's probably the number 2 character in the books. Very, very important to how it all builds up and ends. And I'm not going to spoil all the endings and stuff. I don't even know that Amazon's going to go that direction with things, but like, you should read those books yourselves. I mean, it's really wonderful. And so let's see what happens here. So this is where they start to change things. It needs to be done right, as she says, and she's correct on this for this deal here. And it's not very faithful at all. She says it doesn't need to be faithful to the books to the leather. It's not at all so far. Now, Lan has replaced Matt in the Melindra plot. Now, this is a big deal. This is one of like Matt's biggest plots in the entire series. It's crazy that they're just throwing Lan into it. Now, what was neat about Lan's arc and what made Lan a cool character is his whole transition from being the guardian to being the trainer of Rand al'Thor to like being his father figure on the road and stuff like that, which was really beautiful. It was strong, masculine work. And that's the thing about the Wheel of Time. Whereas a lot of like very modern stuff, they have like, you know, the strong female lead who's like the badass warrior now. Wheel of Time really separated masculine and feminine. He put a big yin and yang in the whole world building that like you need both to coexist, and they both have their own unique strengths. And that is like the reality of the world. It works very, very well. That's very actually biblical in a lot of ways. Robert Jordan was a Christian man. And so you could just see the difference between the way that things are done now, where it's like, you know, all these women just are 100-pound whatevers who beat up trained soldiers with their bare fists. It's insane, and it never works. It feels bad for movies. But the way that they did things like was the women were like they were like healers. They were the healers, the wisdoms in the world, and of course the Aes Sedai were like you know, wisdom on steroids, right? And so they had these cool magical abilities, and they did a lot through like very feminine ways, manipulation and diplomacy, and of course kind of changing things through their magic that like they could actually push the men into different directions. And so, you know, and there's conflict between male and female, of course, there always is. There was very much a battle of the sexes in there. And Lan really represented the masculine on he was the strong warrior. I mean, I loved the New Spring prequel book. If you haven't read that, it's really awesome. And it really shows who he is. It shows him as the role of protector, of provider, and this is what he is to throughout the entire thing. Now, he eventually gets, because Moiraine, I don't even know where they are in the series on the TV show, so spoilers, Moiraine eventually like kind of dies or disappears for a bit, and his bond with her, the warders have a bond with the Aes Sedai, where it's like almost telepathic in nature, where it makes them stronger together, male and female together, stronger. Pretty cool. And he eventually bonds with Nynaeve, who's from the village and all that, and that bond becomes something like romantic and magical and cool. He's got the Aragorn classic plot where he's like, you know, the king without a country, like he has to deal with also. Very beautiful fantasy tropes. Lan is such a cool character by itself. I don't want him thrown into Matt's plots, like not even as the Matt thing, but just because of Lan as a cool character by himself. It's really sad. But it also wrecks Matt because the whole specialness of Matt ties in to what goes on with Melindra and the like, and it really builds him. It's his whole deal. Now, Lan might have a new love interest in Melindra because they're trying to do TV drama on this, and it's so stupid. It's really dumb. So here it is. He's played by a Korean American, which is another dumb casting. Appears to be replacing Matt in the storyline to a certain extent. Matt's arc was all over the place up until the Wheel of Time Season 2 ending, because they didn't know what to do with him. And then many hoping Season 3 would get him back on track. He didn't go to the Aiel Waste. He did like he did in the books, which is a crazy part because that changes his whole fate right there. This lapse in faith, that was one of the best storylines also. This lapse in faithfulness was disappointing to some. In the books, Melindra tried to drive a wedge between Matt and Rand, and this seems the show is dispensing with this part of the source material too. Very sad. So in this, they've changed it. They've kept him out of, I forget how to pronounce Ruidin, which is the Aiel spot, which ultimately was done to give Rand and Matt their own plots that each character would shine separately. Since the show excluded Matt from the Aiel Way stories, it may have decided to use the Melinda plotline, but with Lan instead of Matt, which is a huge deal because this is where all the prophecy takes place. So now Lan's going to be the recipient of this prophecy potentially, which is just throwing everything way off course for this series as it is. It's absolutely crazy. And so this is where they're doing with this. Unfortunately, they just clearly don't care about the source material, and that's the whole problem with this deal. They've changed the Wheel of Time so much. They've tried to throw all the identity politics they possibly can in it, and they've got a writer by committee room who clearly does not follow the Wheel of Time, does not read these and like really pay attention to all the details of the books, because they're like, well, let's just have Lan in this interesting relationship with this kind of villainous lady, that'll change things. and that'll throw a wrench in it. What a twist that the readers won't expect here. And it's not about twisting everything or making it your own. And that's where these writers have a big problem. They take source material that's excellent. They always want to make it their own because they're just not talented enough to really do things themselves. Otherwise, they'd be making it, this would be a series of their work, right? And so they try to make it their own by doing these radical changes that strictly make the books worse. And if they ruin Matt's whole plot line here and ruin his whole prophecy and all that ends up compounding and making him into the epic person at the end that he is, that's a big problem. A big problem. All right. What do you think about this? Are they going to go through with this? Leave a comment down below. Love to hear from you. Hit the like and subscribe button as we talk about all things in the fantasy news. Appreciate you being here. And please check out my Demon's Eye Fantasy. We wrote great characters in here. I wrote great here. I don't know why I said we. I wrote great characters in here. You're going to love this if you love fantasy. Thank you so much for supporting. It's in the description below. We'll be back soon.